and I'm in trouble now.
Right.
So I just drove off.
Everyone loves Steve Harvey. But what most people don't know is that he's been involved in a bunch of crazy scandals over the years. At one point, he apparently even abandoned his kids. And what happened with Steve's family life is seriously shocking. Steve might be majorly rich and famous now, but he had very humble beginnings. Before getting involved in comedy, Steve worked jobs ranging from boxer to mailman to an auto worker. Back in 1981, when Steve was still struggling to make a name for himself, he got married to his first wife, Marcia Harvey. Steve made some tough decisions at that point in his career. Specifically, he was constantly away from his family because he was pursuing his comedy career. It got so bad that the struggle between his personal and professional life finally erupted in a divorce. But Steve's career wasn't the only reason the marriage fell apart. There were also multiple rumors that Steve wasn't being faithful to Marcia. What's worse, he was reportedly cheating on her while she was pregnant with their third child. That's pretty terrible behavior. Still, Marcia has managed to stay above all that gossip. Since their divorce, she seems to live a quiet and low-key life away from the spotlight. In 1996, Steve married a makeup artist named Mary Shackelford. Mary is the person that Steve was rumored to be romantically linked to while he was still married to Marcia. And the timeline would suggest that Steve and Mary may have been together for a while before Steve's divorce. Steve first met Mary back in 1989 when he was a stand-up comic. So who knows how long these two actually remained friends. 7 years after meeting, Mary finally agreed to marry Steve, but you know what they say about being careful when you start a relationship with someone who has cheated, because eventually they'll probably also cheat on you. Steve and Mary were husband and wife for 9 years before separating in 2006. For a while, Mary remained quiet about their marriage and their separation, but she apparently found something pretty disturbing, and it's no surprise why their marriage fell apart. Mary uncovered a private letter to Steve from his mistress. This, understandably, was extremely upsetting. I don't know too many marriages that would be able to survive that. In 2011, Mary revealed her side of the marriage and the divorce, and this was when things got particularly messy for Steve. In 2017, Mary filed a lawsuit against Steve claiming child harm and breach of contract. It was a lawsuit for $60 million, but fortunately for Steve, Mary eventually lost. Now, Steve has been happily married to Marjorie Elaine Harvey for 15 years. They've had a remarkable run together. In Hollywood, being together for over a decade and a half is definitely not the norm. Their marriage seems nice on the outside, but they've also had no shortage of troubles and scandals swirling around them. And in 2018, it looked like things were getting really bad for them. It was reported at the time that Steve and Marjorie were in the middle of a $40 million divorce, and you'll never believe the woman at the center of the controversy this time. It was rumored that Steve was possibly getting too close to Kardashian family matriarch Kris Jenner. Eventually, this turned out to not be true, but Steve's headaches about headlines about his marriage and divorce were far from over. In 2019, reports resurfaced that Steve had to liquidate his assets in preparation for a divorce from Marjorie. This also turned out not to be true. You really can't believe everything you hear, especially about Steve Harvey's marriages. There have been multiple allegations brought against Steve that he was unfaithful to Marjorie, and you don't exactly have to use your imagination to picture a world where Steve was a cheater, but Steve and Marjorie seem to seriously be in love, especially when you look at how they post together all the time on social media, whether it's a cute date night or an incredible international vacation. And Steve seems to genuinely appreciate Marjorie. He even said in 2014 that everything he has is because of her. He really forgot about those first two wives in a hurry. But those first two wives definitely gave something to Steve. Steve and Marjorie are raising a staggering 7 kids. 4 of them are from Steve's ex-wives, and 3 of them are from Marjorie and her ex-husband. And it doesn't sound like it was an easy journey for Steve and Marjorie to get their families together. Steve admitted that not everyone hit it off the way he was hoping. He said that all 4 of the girls at one time were adamantly opposed to it. Steve said that all the girls went out bowling when they first got together, and when they got back, they had some interesting words to share with their parents. The girls decided that they didn't want Steve and Marjorie to get married, they thought it wasn't the right thing to do, and they needed more time to get to know each other. Steve thought it was pretty funny that this team of people who he was financially supporting was telling him what to do with his his life. He even joked that none of his girls had ever had a successful boyfriend. So what did they know about relationships? Meanwhile, Steve's sons were no problem. Steve obviously didn't let his kids decide the fate of his marriage and just told them this was how it was going to be. And they eventually got on board. But I can see how his daughters were nervous about the change, especially when Steve had previously left them to pursue his career. Steve looks back at the time when he had to pick between his career and his kids with some regret, but he knows that's just what he had to do. And after enough time had passed, his daughters felt the same. Steve's daughters said that they didn't understand why it happened at the time, but now they get it. They told him that he didn't just belong to them, he belonged to the world. That's a pretty mature way to look at things, and it seems like they understand the big picture. And the fact that their dad went on to make many millions of dollars and provide an incredible life for them probably didn't hurt their understanding either. It seems like despite the controversy surrounding Steve Harvey's marriages, he and Marjorie are really happy, and the kids are too, which is what really matters at the end of the day. But what do you guys think? What do you think about how Steve handled his kids' worries about his marriage? And what do you think about all those cheating allegations? Let me know in the comments below.